All right, everyone, the problem says determine the number of significant figures in each of the following measurements. So we have 6 measurements, and we have our Sig Fig rules on the right to help us determine which of the digits in each measurement is a significant figure. So looking at A, we have 11 soccer players. So we have this one here and that one there. Are those significant? Well, looking at our Sig Fig rules, rule number 1 says all non-zeros are significant. So those both being 1, which are both not 0, that means they are significant. So for A, we have 2 significant figures. All right, looking at B, we have 0.070020 meters. So lots of zeros here, and they're kind of in different spots. So this is going to be a trickier problem on average. So let's go from the left to the right. So we have this first 0 here and this 0 here. So those zeros are to the left of a significant digit because that 7 there is a significant digit because it's not a 0. So those zeros are to the left of it. Does that mean they are significant or not? Well, looking at our Sig Fig rules, we have zeros to the left of a Sig Fig are not significant. So whenever you have zeros to the left of your Sig Fig, they are not significant. So not significant, not significant. All right, then we have the 7 and then 0, 0, 2. So we have these 2 zeros here, and they are in between the 7 and the 2, which are both significant because they are not zeros. So what about the zeros in the middle? Well, rule number 2 says zeros in between Sig Figs are significant. So those 2 zeros are significant because they're in between the 7 and the 2. And then we have the last 0 here that is to the right of the 2, which is a significant figure. So we have rules 4 and 5, which both talk about zeros to the right of a significant figure. And the difference is if there is a decimal point or not. So looking at our number, we see that we have a decimal. It's 0.070020. So because there is a decimal point in this number, we are going to look at rule 5, which says zeros to the right of a significant figure are significant if there is a decimal point. So because there's a decimal point, that last 0 is significant. So the 7, 0, 0, 2, 0, all of those digits are significant, which gives us 5 Sig Figs for B. Okay, let's look at C. We have 10,800 meters. So we know the 1 and the 8 are going to be significant. So let's look at the zeros. We have this 0 here. It's between the 1 and the 8. So that is rule number 2. Because it's in between those 2 significant figures, it also must be significant. We must know that's a 0 because we can't know the 1 and the 8 without knowing the digit in between. And then that leaves the last 2 digits here, which are both zeros, and they are to the right of 8, which is a significant figure. So we're going to rules 4 and 5, which are different by is there a decimal or not. So looking at 10,800 meters, is there a decimal? No, there is not. It would be right here if there was, because there's no decimal point there. That gets us to rule 4, which says zeros to the right of a significant figure are not significant if there isn't a decimal point. So no decimal point means that 0 is not significant, and neither is that one. So for C, we have 3 significant figures. For question D, we have 0.010 meters squared. So we know that 1 is significant. So we have zeros to the left and we have zeros to the right. So let's look at the first two. We have 0.0. They are to the left of a significant figure, so they are not significant. Okay, rule number 3. So not significant, not significant. They are just placeholders. We need them there to write the rest of the numbers that are the 1 and the 0. So that last 0 here, is it significant? Well, it's to the right, so that takes us to rules 4 and 5. Is there a decimal point? Yes, it is right here. So that means we are rule number 5. Zeros to the right of a significant figure are significant if there is a decimal point. So there is a decimal point. So the 1 and that last 0 are both significant, so 2 significant figures. We wouldn't write that 0 here if we didn't know it. We would just end our number at the 1. But we know that must be a 0, so that's why we write it. Okay, now we are on to E, 5.00 meters cubed. The 5 is significant, so we just have the 2 zeros. They are again to the right of a significant figure. So we look at rules 4 or 5. Is there a decimal point? Yes, there is. It is right there. So we are rule number 5. Again, they are significant. So here we have 3 significant figures for E. Okay, if those zeros weren't significant, we would just write 5 meters cubed. But because we know it's 5.00 meters cubed, we have to write those zeros. Okay, and then the last one, we have F, which says 507 thumbtacks. Okay, we got the 5, we got the 7. They're both significant because they're not zeros. And we have the 0 in the middle. That is rule number 2. Zeros in between sig figs are significant. So for F, that gives us 3 significant figures, 5, 0, and 7. All right, there you have it, determining the number of significant figures in each of the following measurements. All right, if you want to see another example, click in the top right. Please like this video if it helped you in any way. Feel free to look in the doobly-doo below for additional help and resources. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified for new videos. And thank you so much for watching.